Hey everyone, welcome to the Collateral Nation. It's time to get walking. I'm on my treadmill while Kevin is sitting at home in his bathrobe. So I'm assuming, Kevin, you already did your workout for the day. So you're in a little bit of a coaching mode right now.
I did the first one. I just got back.
You did. So
Very,
what's your when you get back from your workout? I mean, obviously you have your bathrobe on. It looks like you have your t-shirt on underneath. Oh, you're having some tea in your
yes.
raccoon cup. I love that yours is all decorated and mine is just completely sterile.
Well, you don't want anything to outshine your beauty.
No, not at all. So, what is your after workout regimen? So, why do you put on the bathrobe? Just is it cold in the house or is it part of um the after workout, I don't know, cool down or maintaining your body temperature?
It's got nothing to do with the workout. I always stretch after a workout if it's significant, and I come home. My animals are all here. I started doing some more editing, which is taking me forever. Recording a 400-page novel takes a long time, and editing the audio takes about twice as long again. So it's taking
Yeah.
up all my spare time. So I did some of that, and then I came on here. But it's I don't like having the house too hot. The animals don't like that. And my bathrobe's nice and warm, and it makes me look very, very masculine. So I thought I would wear it.
And if we weren't an organization focusing on Pat, I'd almost expect the pipe,
I
sitting
don't
there in the
smoke.
corner of your mouth and the fireplace right behind you
I want a rocking chair and a
on the
shawl.
rocking chair. Yes. Oh my goodness. And it's, you're sitting there and while we have Mike that's out there. He's in a live in studio audience and he's out there. He's been walking, which has been great. I see that Carl is in our live studio audience, all bundled up. So I'm assuming that he got in a little workout this morning in Douglas. But if you want to join our live studio audience, make sure that you email us at info at padhelp.org. It's great. Join the audience because it's weekly accountability, it's personalized coaching. So it's important to walk. And sometimes you just need a friend to be by your side, rooting you on. And we're here for you. But you can also go to our YouTube channels, youtube.com/ the @fit old dog. He has some great videos up there to get you started on the right track to walking as medicine and walking effectively to grow your collateral network of vessels. Whether you can only barely get out of bed to the bathroom, or whether you can only walk to the mailbox, or just a block or a mile. His methods of using yoga toes and the PAD 100 and turning your feet into, what do you call them?
Remote blood pumping stations. And I have a comment to
Remote
make about that in a minute.
blood pumping stations. He'll reach you wherever you are and help you to where you want to be, which is growing those natural detours. Also, you can subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/ the way to my heart. And we have a weekly Collateral Nation, and you can join us every week there as well. So, what were you going to say about your remote pumping stations, blood pumping stations?
I realize that I'm socially challenged, not very good at sales, and when I go back over my data, I think my weakness is in my inability to use the appropriate metaphors. So I'm studying that. I think that's the best way to reach people's emotions. My there are two videos which are really important to watch that no one watches. I think it's my background puts them off. The first one is using the lactate threshold test as a metaphor, and I explain what it is, and there's a graph and there's everything. Hardly anybody watches that. I have another one where I show a diaphragm pump going pump, 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 pump. Oh, people love that. Well, so what? The thing is, you need to truly understand what's going on. For your training for endurance versus intensity, understanding the lactate threshold metaphor is worth understanding. So that's number one. Number two, I just put up a video a few days ago, very simple, just over a minute, where I attempted to use a person playing the piano to how I use my feet to interact with the ground. Your feet need to talk to the ground, like a pianist talks to the keys, and the keys answer back, and the ground answers back to us. If you hit it hard and bruise yourself, the ground is sending you a message, and you need to listen. And so that one, I'm trying to find the right metaphor to get through to people, because some people have commented on my method, which has got nothing to do with aggression. It's very gentle and conversational in nature with the ground. I don't
Yeah.
grab the ground. I actually hold the ground gently. And when I walk around or stand, I notice my feet are always doing that, using all my
Yes,
toes
mine are too.
in a different way.
Since
The
you
other one,
told me, I'm sorry, I do them all the time. You have me doing them all the time. I catch myself literally grabbing the ground in a gentle way with my toes, and it feels so good.
once you get it right, it really works. It works as you
Oh,
walk. It even
yeah.
works when I run. But I had one person came on who's obviously medically trained who said I scrunch up my feet. I do not scrunch up my feet. That's not, a pianist doesn't scrunch up their fingers when they play a chord. Their hands are totally relaxed. It's all based on good body movement and skill. And the method I developed for my feet that I've now been using for like 3 or 4 years, and it's always improving, is much like a pianist playing a piano. So I put up the video. Of course, it gets no views because people can't, well, what the hell is playing a piano got to do with my feet? And so the real trick is for me to find the right metaphors. So now, guess what I'm doing? Of course, which I always do. I'm reading a book on metaphors, and I'm using that for my weekly newsletter, which I write Tuesdays and Wednesdays and put out on Thursdays. But it sometimes seems like I'm unable to reach people. I don't know whether it's my medical training or what, but I think I can maybe do that if I can improve the metaphors I use. So that's a challenge I face, but I like it because I'm learning new shit, right? I mean, stuff, sorry. That's a metaphor.
So, Kevin, honestly, I think that I actually now even have a clearer picture with thinking about the piano, because you're not scrunching your toes. I'm not scrunching my toes. I'll tell you, I can now go 80 minutes on my treadmill where I could barely go 15, 20 minutes because of the hip pain, because I was walking wrong until you got me to swing my arms and focus on how to move my body more effectively. But I think that the biggest impact that on my walking was the grabbing the I call it grabbing the ground. It's just basically spreading my toes and literally just grabbing the ground a little bit. It takes the pressure off my hips. So I think it's really effective, and I really like the piano analogy.
Yeah,
I don't know. What does anyone else think?
I think embracing the ground is maybe a better way of thinking. But you're right. I mean, if you whatever metaphor
Well,
works for you,
embracing.
whatever works for you is the answer.
Um, did you say embracing? Embracing doesn't paint the picture for me. I don't know. I'm curious. Our live studio audience, even the Peanut Gallery, Marilyn is here. Maybe she'll weigh in on us. We're looking for analogies for that whole idea of, just grabbing the ground
Oh,
when you are
Marilyn,
walking.
Mar
Marilyn's
Marilyn,
here.
did you write to me and ask for the link to my YouTube channel? Was that you?
Yes, I'm reading your book, and when you were describing where to go online for the playlist that's supposed to be in order of all the videos that you're mentioning in the book, it doesn't lead me to that with what you've left in there. So I
Yeah,
was
no, you still
struggling to
got, did you
find it.
go to the P.A.D playlist?
I could not find it.
Oh yeah, so I sent you the link to the
Yes,
playlist. Did that
I
work?
yes,
Okay, good. That means I'm somehow not explaining well in the book, and I need to fix that. I mean, it's hard to describe when you're talking. Are you reading the book or listening?
reading.
Yeah, if you're reading a book and it says go to the at Fit Old Dog channel, and then you find, goes to one of my videos, and then you go to the right and you find Kevin Thomas Morgan, and you click on that, and then you go to the playlist and click on that. I didn't know how else to describe it. It is tricky actually, and in an audiobook it's kind of worse because you're not even writing it down, you're saying it, but it's in the audiobook now. Anyway, thanks for letting me know that, because once people write to me and say they have a problem with something in one of my books, that's great. If someone says my book is great, well, that's fine, but it doesn't help me improve the book. That's nice of them. It maybe helps my ego, I guess, but I don't think it does. But if they write and say there's a problem, that is really, really helpful. Negative reviews on a book or a video, they really help. Except for one review,
As
I
long as
got
they're
one.
not trolls.
Yeah, I got one person who wrote one of my videos has about 18,000 views. It's how to use why you should use speed play pedals on the bike to protect your knees. That's really popular. And one person wrote his review was, "Why don't you shave your ugly hairy legs?" And I'm like, "Who are you? What? I'm a guy. What's your
Ugh,
problem?" And so I just thought, so I just
troll.
laugh at things like that. But they're the things you remember because they're so dumb.
They're so dumb. I mean, that someone
I,
took the time. Can you believe, like, I was that important to that person that they took the time to write dumb shit on my video? Seriously?
I do
Like,
tend to
I was
write
that
them and
important
say,
to them.
I tend to
They
write and say
wasted their
nice
time.
things. I try and say nice things to everybody, even when they're very rude. I have MAGA people who call me their favorite liberal because I'll engage them in conversation. It's a bit like talking to a brick wall, but I mean, it is kind of interesting to understand their perspective because they're getting their news. I don't know where they're getting their news, but I tell you, when they tell me that was just a bunch of tourists wandering around the White House on January 6th, I'm like, I watched what happened. That wasn't a bunch of tourists. It was really, and so I try to get through to them, but it's really difficult. So I find, so that's all part and parcel of what we do here. We have to reach past the doctors and reach the patients. And I suspect that the right metaphors might help us with that. Anyway, that's my goal. So I'm A/B split testing on my videos, and I'll probably do that on my books. So
Kevin, can I ask you a question?
you just did.
Well, this is another question. I'm not referring to the previous question, Kevin.
So you want to ask two questions?
No, I want to ask another question. Because if I would have said two questions, I've already asked one, so it wouldn't pertain this time because I've already asked one, so it
That's
wouldn't work.
correct. That's called mockery.
Okay,
I apologize.
no, it's okay. I'm funning with you. Anyway, I wanted to ask you something. Um, have your ABIs improved over time?
I don't know. I don't track them. I use my O2 SATS meter. To get an ABI, I have to go and see my vascular surgeon, and then I have to go pass through my doctor, and they get me to pay. Then I go see him, and I have to get pay, and I have to sit and wait and all that stuff. But I stick an O2 SATS meter worth 30 bucks on my toe, and I can see what's going on, and they're pretty stable, very close to normal. So that's what I do. I guess my major
Oh,
risk now is cardiovascular disease. So I'm always watching for that. I mean, I'm 83 with hypertriglyceridemia, at least since I was 30. So obviously, I have atherosclerosis, very severely blocked vessels in my lower legs. I'm building collaterals in my heart, but I'm not sure that's enough. So I'm always, if anything's going to get me, it's that.
how are
Um,
you watching that though? You say you're watching that.
I watch for symptoms. I check my pulse. Every now
Oh,
and then I go and see my PCP, and she'll listen to my heart. Um, I think you just got to watch out, tight chest, sore left arm, the usual stuff. And,
okay.
so if anything like that comes along, I will go and see my vascular surgeon, I guess.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm very, very happy to hear that. And just on a note on that, and then I'll be quiet. It's
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
so happy.
ABI is really helpful. It tells you where you really are. But I think the O2 SATS meter on your little toe, middle toe, is pretty good. I mean, it's actually pretty good because now I have people who contacted me who had O2 sats down in the really like 70s and 80s and percent. And they scurried off to see their physicians when I talk to them. So yeah, that's the way to go. It's just I don't like to talk to doctors because I'm a vet. I'd rather talk to a cow.
So do you think when you're looking at a peripheral vascular disease, then are you still aiming? You think you can really aim for a SATs near 100, or would you be looking at as being okay? That's all right, but no, if it gets lower than this, that's pretty bad in your toes because they're certainly far away from your heart in terms of circulation.
If it drops below 90, I'd be worried. I'd be concerned. I would say if I can keep it up around 93 to 95, I'm doing really well. The 100% blocked right popliteal artery and the same problems going on elsewhere. Yeah, no, I have no complaints. Don't forget, I also have a AAA stent graft, which also obstructs blood flow because it's non-compliant, meaning that there's a limit to how much blood I can get through my femoral arteries or my common iliacs, and that's my femorals. And that has actually slowed me down on the bike a bit because I can't, elastic arteries expand and let more blood flow through. So there's a number of blockages in my system. But once again, I'm 83. I mean, I really have no complaints. I just want to keep going. That's all. But I don't know. Did that answer your question?
It did, and I just want to say, I hope this is okay to say here. I am happy I live in Canada because all those tests don't cost me anything, and I can get in fairly quickly.
Yeah, here.
Wow, it's great that you can get in quickly because so many of our patients across Canada can't even get in for literally months and months. So it just depends on where you are in Canada. So good for where you are, to be able to get in quickly. That's really good.
The problem in America is that it's got the highest rate of medical bankruptcies in the world, I believe. And I believe it. I mean, when I have my stent got displaced in 2013. I was in a bike wreck in World's Half Ironman Championships in Vegas, and it flipped the common iliac stent branch out back into the aneurysm, and they had to put it back. The operation was pretty dangerous. It was kind of a neat operation. I had it done in Cleveland by Tara Mastracci, who was great. And one of the neatest things about that surgery was I'm lying on the table. A resident is struggling to put in an A line, caused me more pain than ever in my life. Anyways, boss finally did it. But I'm lying there and she suddenly says, okay, life support's on the right, surgery's on the left, and there's like 8 people there.
God.
And so they all get in place and they all go quiet. And then she says, Dr. Morgan, would you please explain to my team what we are going to do to you now? And I got to tell them the whole surgery, including delivering the extension into the hypogastric via my brachial artery and down through the aorta, etc. And it made me feel like part of the team. It was really, and they can't do it without the patient. So the patient being part of the team is really, really important. I had that also. I was having surgery for a completely blocked left common iliac due to a stent extension kinking, causing a turbulence and a clot. So I had to have a, thromboplastin run in there for 13 hours. So I went in to have the surgery for inserting the cannula. And I kid you not, there were 8 young women in there and me, and I'm lying on my back, essentially stark naked. And the woman has to shave my groin to put in the cannula. And she's got this towel she's holding over me and trying to move it around and trying to do the surgery. And I said to her, look, I don't care. Just take the towel away and do the job. And if you want, you can get a picture frame and put that around it and take a photograph. But otherwise, I don't care. Just do the job. And she stopped with the damn towel. And everyone in the room cracked up. All these women cracked up. It took the tension out of the room. And I could feel everything going better because they were all feeling embarrassed for me. But I wasn't embarrassed. I was fine. And so I think if you can inject some humor politely and kindly, that's a good thing. And that's what Tara Mastracci did. And then, of course, I spoke to the anesthesiologist and said, excuse me, am I talking too much? He said,
Nope,
yes, but I
this
can
is great.
fix. I said,
Nope,
yes,
I'm
but
enjoying it. I don't
I
know.
said, yes.
Carl's smiling. Carl, is he talking too much? I think it's interesting.
Anyway,
Well, I'm not the anesthesiologist.
Anyway, I said to the anesthesiologist, am I talking too much? He said, yes, but I can fix that. And that's the last thing I remember.
You guys got to remember, I'm an OR nurse.
That's
I'm an OR nurse,
hilarious.
and we have a good conversation after we put the patient to sleep. Hey, did you hear that guy when he was talking? It is. We do enjoy it.
Well, the thing about Versed is dangerous because I was told by a woman friend with me for surgery, and I was on Versed, and afterwards she wasn't very pleased. She said, did you know that you were hitting on all the nurses while you're under Versed? And I said I wasn't hitting on anyone. She said, well, you were talking to them all friendly. And I'm like, well, I just like women. That doesn't mean I'm hitting on them. That's not the same thing at all. But under Versed, you have no memory of it. None. And I'm sure Marilyn has heard some stories.
Yeah.
People say some funny things. I've heard one that I can't tell you, which
Yes.
is funny as hell, but I won't tell it here.
No,
Anyway,
you know what? I think I had the take the cake on this one. So I was going in for arthroscopic surgery for my shoulder, and they told me that I was singing show tunes all the way in to there, but their favorite that they kept every time they came to my bed during recovery, I'm just a girl who can't say no. I'm in a terrible fix. I always say, come on, let's go. Just when I ought to say nix. They were laughing so hard. You didn't even know. I mean, I don't know if you know the rest of it. It's like when a person tries to kiss a girl, I know she ought to give his face a smack. But as soon as someone kisses me, I somehow sort of want to kiss him back. And so they were coming to my bed and doing all of these little things, which I was just so embarrassed. I was mortified, but it was so funny. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But that is the worst song you want to sing going into a procedure like that. Oh my Lord. I'm just a girl who can't say no. Yeah, say no. Just say no. Oh
I
my
won't,
goodness.
I won't tell you what I said when I was sitting up in bed and there were three young nurses looking at me and they took out my Foley. I, I
You're,
mean, I thought it
yeah,
was funny, but it was like what I actually said. It was the creepiest feeling in the world. I hated it. And I said, that's the first time in my life I had a young woman mess with my dick and I didn't like it. And they looked at me like Florence Nightingale. They were all mad. But I was just making a joke to break the moment because it was extremely unpleasant. And so humor is critical. It
it
really
is
is,
critical.
it really is important. And I think it should be encouraged, not discouraged. And I never say these things rudely. It's just I say them
You got
as
to
per
get yourself through.
you've got to get yourself
Yep.
through. That's exactly right. And humor really helps. It really
100%. I
does.
mean, you feel so exposed in those situations. And I think that there are some, I've been in a lot of cath labs, and I think some cath labs are a little bit more discreet. Actually, I actually find that in Europe, surprisingly, they seem to be more respectful of the patient, which I thought in Europe people were a little bit more free with their bodies, just like more comfortable, confident. You have topless beaches in a lot of areas. Here in the US, they're not. But here I find that there are a lot of these cath labs, especially the office-based ones, where they have a lot of um, sales reps in the room that come in a little bit too early. I think when people are exposed and their genitalia is exposed, I think that it should be respected. And I don't think anyone should be let in the room or have a window into the room when the genitalia is exposed, except for the people that are taking care of prepping the patient.
Not
And
without their
just get
without their permission. That's exactly right. I agree.
100%. And I think that, yeah, Douglas gives a high five on that. Um, or Douglas, you're giving a high five, or you want to say something? Jump right in.
I was on the table in the hallway when she was doing the same thing, Kevin. She was shaving me, and somebody called her name, and she left with the towel, leaving me totally exposed on the
Mhm.
table. And there was people walking by. I was stuck in between two operating rooms, and these people were walking by on either side, and I'm laying there butt naked. And it's like, hello, excuse me, but you went off and left me just laying here like this, and it's crazy.
Yeah, that's not right. I can understand
No,
why. I understand why. It's because they're busy. They're doing it all day long. To them, it's no big deal. But to you as the patient, it is a big deal. So yeah, I understand. Uh,
there's a certain amount of dignity, and it's already stressful. And I just really, that is just my, one fear is you go in and you have, that exposed. And I guess it's life and we all have what we have, but there's no need to put them on display. And I honestly, there were a couple times where they're like, oh yeah, just go on in. And I went in, I'm like, that's not right. And I'm like seeing things just pop up and I'm like, I don't want to see that. That's not right. So I'm always, when I visit a lab, I'm always very careful. And I tell the nurse, let me know when the patient is protected. And I think that that is so important. But my experience over in Europe was that they really took extra measures to make sure the patient was. I don't know if that's everywhere or just the labs that I was in, but I really felt as though I liked the processes there better than here, where it seemed to be a free for all in some of these labs.
I think one of the good things about this conversation, which is remotely related to PAD, is people, and when they go through these things, they realize that lots of other people do too. They're not alone. We've had these experiences. We've gone through it. If they're
Yeah.
scared when they go, most of us have had multiple surgeries, some quite dangerous surgeries. One of mine was extremely dangerous, but they assured me there was plenty of blood available should they nick my aorta and have to open me up quick. And so we've been through this stuff, and I think we can help people a lot when they're heading for their first one. And every morning I go online to my AAA site, which is growing all the time, and also to the PAD site, and I just look for people who are scared, and provide them with some reassurance. Something it's the end of their life because they have a 3.5 AAA and stuff like that. And you can
Yeah.
really help by just saying, wait a minute, I had a 6.9 15 years ago. I'm still out there doing things. Give them some advice on open versus EVAR, which is really important for men. Uh, and it's surprising how much good we can do. And
Yeah.
it feels very good to do that. And then I get on with the rest of my day. But I do that each morning.
I love that. I'm just, this is off topic for PAD, but since you did mention your aortic site, it is a site, even if you don't have an aortic aneurysm, I think it's really good for everyone to join your group because you share some different things there. And I think it's good for everyone who does have PAD to understand the symptoms and to, read your story, hear your comments, and protect themselves, prevent it for the future. And I know for me, that came out of nowhere for my mom. And anyone who has high blood pressure, anyone who has high blood pressure is at risk of an aortic aneurysm, and you should just be aware. And what I love there is that your site isn't filled with fear, it's filled with some really helpful information. I like the way you handle things. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, I started it so long ago, but it still grows. 2 or 3 or 4 people come in every day. That's quite surprising, actually. And some of the advice they get is really weird. You'll get a guy come in who's a 250-pound guy, and his doctor says he can't lift, it's dangerous to lift more than 10 pounds. I'm like, how's he supposed to stand up? What kind of advice is that? It makes no sense whatsoever. What makes sense is how he stands and how he protects his lower abdomen, how he understands his situation. I had one person who I met, he was an insurance rep, he was in his early 40s, and he had a AAA, and he wanted me to talk to him and meet with him. So I met him for lunch. He was trying to sell me insurance, but my insurance I had was better than his already. But but he was a nice guy, and he asked me, he said, it was amazing thing. He said, I had this aneurysm right up here in my belly, and they fixed it by putting something into my leg, right in my leg here. So they fixed my aneurysm by pushing something into my leg. And I'm thinking, he didn't even understand how the EVAR stent graft was delivered to his aorta. And yet there are videos online he can watch to see the whole
Yeah.
process. And the physicians never told him that. And he had no medical training, he didn't ask. And so I explained to him what it was and told him about the video, which blew his mind. If you watch the delivery of AAA stent graft in those videos, it's actually pretty damn amazing what they do. And mine's been there for 15 years. All the blood in my body's gone through that stent for 15 years, every 2 minutes. And understanding what it is was helpful for him. He's like, oh, I thought they put something in my leg. And so now he knew what he had and why he must protect his lower abdomen from excessive hip flexion and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But if you don't understand what's happening, then how are you supposed to make the appropriate behavior adaptations?
I think that's so important. I just had this conversation yesterday. Someone called our Leg Saver hotline at 1-833-PAD legs. And that was a crazy situation. Felt so blessed that the wife called me and we actually knew his original doctor. The patient was in the hospital at a different hospital that was just closer to his house. And he was on deck for amputation. And I said, well, I know your original doctor. You want me to give him a call? I called the doctor and he says, he's where? He's where? Oh, I need to call the wife. He hung up on me. He like hung up on me and called the wife immediately. And I'm like, oh, get off the phone. I think he's calling you. So so because she was on the other line, I had two different lines going, one on my computer and one on my phone. And so anyway, I got on the phone with their son and I was explaining to him, about PAD and all the different procedures. He's like, oh, I already know what my dad had. And the nurse explained it to me. And, he's had these complications with this bleeding and everything at his groin and blah, blah, blah. And he needs more blood and whatever. And I was like, do you know maybe why? He's, oh, yeah, he's just a bleeder. He's on these blood thinners. I said, well, maybe, but do you know what's down there? It's their access point. So he was kind of brushing me off as if he knew everything that was going on. And he said that the nurse explained it to her. I said, no, 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 no. They're only going to give you a few things. These nurses also don't have the advanced information that we can tell you. And I started talking to him about these closure devices and how they can fail. 1 in 32 end up failing and blah, 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 blah. And I gave him a greater understanding. So you do have to do what Kevin, you're saying is take a step back. And there are these great videos, such as what you explained, that are online that can show you a little bit more than what your doctor or the nurses may have time to share with you, or maybe even know. So you got to know how to do the research. And I really like, and my producer Josh, our producer Josh, is going to love this, but I think that YouTube is actually the best search tool out there for information on these things, because you get a really good visual and you get and it's not bought and paid for in these searches from my experience. And so you can really get a whole variety of people's opinions. Right, Carl? Carl's nodding. Carl, what's your experience with that?
Well, not so much medically, but I have friends that are really wide-ranging mechanics. They're boat people, shipbuilders, and they fix everything that they have, from their washing machines to their cars to their trucks to their ships to their rebuilding their engines. And and they, every time I ask them about something, it's like, check it out on YouTube. and yeah, I mean, it seems really helpful, really valuable in that regard.
And you can tell by the comments that when it is really the right information, I think it has a really good checks and balances on there in the flow of comments, the thread. You can tell. I mean, even when I watch shorts, it's really funny now because sometimes I go, wow, AI has gotten really that good. But usually if I question whether or not it's AI, it typically is AI. But I go into the thread of comments and lo and behold, everyone is AI, 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 AI. So you can you really find out whether a video is valid based on what people are saying in the comments. Now, again, as Kevin always says, politics aside, in politics you can't always, but with this kind of stuff medically and with car issues, mechanics, yeah, you probably have a great opportunity to find the right information to know whether it's going to work or not work, whatever it might be. Hi, Heinz.
Hi, Heinz.
This is Heinz' first time joining our Collateral Nation in
No,
our
I've been on
in-studio
before.
audience.
I've been on before, but it's been
You've
a
been
while.
on the Collateral Nation? I can't remember.
Yeah, he was on before. I was thinking
Maybe a long time.
This is always a bad
49
time 'cause I'm
varieties,
already
right?
walking.
What'd you say? 49 varieties of what?
Of kind of soup. It's a Heinz thing.
Or
Oh,
57.
Heinz 57 sauce.
Oh, it's
Heinz,
57 varieties.
Right.
Ay, ay,
Oh
ay.
man, that's better
And don't
still because I
forget,
think 57 is a prime.
besides YouTube, long live Dr. Google too. I'm sorry, I use it a lot.
But you probably know how to use it right. The problem I have with Google is you Google P.A.D. and there's sponsored content from USA Vascular that says you're going to be dead in 5 years. And that to me should not be prioritized. And it is because they pay the most money on there.
Yeah, I died.
I'm not.
I remember now.
I'm not fully supporting this website, but I go to the NIH a lot, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I
um,
like the NIH.
I use
I mean,
PubMed a lot.
I don't know who a lot of these doctors are that write in, and I know they use other doctors for their information, but that, it can't be all wrong.
Well, I find WebMD is pretty good.
Right.
Not on everything. Some of them are pretty good, but you still got to check. You still got to check it out further. So I'll go there from there
Well,
to
that's why I asked tons of questions
PubMed.
on these shows, and Kim will testify that I ask tons of questions on these shows to verify what I read.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
You
good.
know, and I asked multiple doctors. I generally get the same answer, but I asked multiple doctors.
I love the question about the wine. That was my favorite.
Well,
If
here you got
when
Dr. Lilly that kind of supported it, and then you got Dr. Danziger that kind of said, "Don't drink."
yeah,
So
and then you had NP Deidre that said, well, you could and just keep it to one, but make sure it's a better option to have the resveratrol supplement versus having the glass of wine.
right,
But
Kevin, I wanted to
I
ask you what O2 monitor for your foot, toes. What do you use? Do you recommend any?
I just got it on Amazon. It's like $30. There's a picture of it in one of my books or on my videos. In fact, I put a video on YouTube that talks about using the O2 sats meter to measure oxygen tension in your toes. I think I have a picture of the O2 sats meter in there.
I have
one
one of your books, so I'll look through there. Maybe it's in
Yeah,
there.
and if you go to Amazon, you'll find there's a whole range of them. I think the most important toe to check is your little toe, but not always. Some of them you can get on your big toe, but I've not got one that does that. So, but they're about 30, $35. I mean, they're a really good investment because they do actually work. You just can make sure they're installed right, and you can double check against your finger, check the O2 sats in your finger, which they're designed to fit, and your toes should be very similar.
really, I found from people that have commented in our group that they find that their toes are more off than their finger. It's different. And some of the doctors that have been on it said, hey, we'll just use it to establish a baseline first and then measure it over time. And then if it deviates from what seems to be normal for you, and if you're feeling fine when you measure it, then you're going to know what your baseline is.
Exactly
Right.
right.
Because there's some people that have Raynaud's.
One measurement's never enough. I mean, when I'm in real training, I always check my morning pulse, my resting pulse when I wake up. And if it starts to go more than 5 or 6 beats over baseline, I'm overtraining. And so I can only get that from a baseline. I can't get that from one measurement. A lot of people
Yeah.
only know their blood pressure from going to the doctors, where they'll often put the cuff on outside their clothing, which is a huge mistake. And it's only one measurement, and they're nervous. They may have white coat syndrome, and they'll get a spurious systolic. And you can monitor that yourself. And these meters aren't that expensive now. If you're concerned about blood pressure, then monitor it and get a baseline. That's the answer.
I know for me with my body temperature, I never even register on the thermometer ever. And so I know when I actually register on the thermometer that I'm starting to get a fever. And the doctors don't seem to understand that. They're like, no, you're fine. I'm like, no, you need to check my blood, see if I have an infection or something. And I always do when I hit normal on the thermometer. And these nurses and doctors don't seem to understand that, even though time and time again, this is exactly what happens. Thank God I don't, knock on wood, don't get sick very often. But when I do, for example, when I had COVID, it was literally I hit normal.
Well,
And they were like, oh, you're fine.
maybe it means, Kim, that you're a poikilotherm. You're inner, you're actually cold-blooded.
Well, that's probably why I'm single at 50.
It's your reptilian inner child, I guess. Excuse me, I'm just laughing at myself.
I need to warm up a little bit.
Are
Maybe
you?
that's my problem.
You just raised something that's like really near and dear to my heart because it was a really serious condition for me. So I'm severely hypothyroid, and I've been taking a supplement for over 20 years, maybe 25 now. And I was
Okay.
also symptomatically, I was probably hypothyroid for 5 or 10 years before that. So when you say so it sounds like your core body temperature, your baseline, your regular metabolic level is low, and that's why you don't register on the thermometer, unless the thermometer is just effective. But you do register when you feel like you're getting sick. So do you have thermoregulation issues? Like, are you cold when other people are warm?
Oh, completely. I have Raynaud's though. So my fingers will go white, my toes will go white, but I've had that since I was in college. My dad has it. It's hereditary. It's
Yeah.
not something to brush off. I just think they don't know enough. But it's a good signal that anyone who does have Raynaud's should end up just being a little bit more conscientious about their small vessels and making sure the blood is flowing, which reminds me, Mike, that could be why he wants to up your clopidogrel, is to make sure that the blood is thin enough to make it into those really tiny vessels to prevent the um, the Raynaud's symptoms. I just had this little aha moment. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe Kevin could shed some
Yeah,
light.
he's changed me from aspirin to the clopidogrel. But then he's started me on one netropine or something like that, I think it's called. And that's primarily for Raynaud's. And he said
Yeah,
that
what
I'm
is
just to
that?
take
Kevin, do
it
you know what
in.
that is?
No idea. I'd have to look it up.
He said that it was to do with I think I've got it. I did have the list on it. Oh, it's in the back pocket. I don't think what's it called again? Sorry. It's called nifedipine. And
Yeah,
that's to do with, he said that he's put me on that because it'll help me through the winter with the Raynaud's. So yeah, I don't know. I need to look into it. I need to do a little bit of research on these medications. I don't know about clopidogrel. I don't know
It's an
what
antiplatelet. It's just a step up from aspirin. It's the same
so it's
class.
just an anticoagulant.
Okay.
Yeah, that just blocks the
Antiplatelet.
second phase of platelet aggregation, same as aspirin. Fish oil does the same thing too. But this doesn't change the viscosity of the blood, Kim. It doesn't make it easier to get there. It makes it less likely to go through the second
clot.
phase of platelet aggregation and form local clots.
Gotcha. So
I'm not gonna get them until I've got an appointment with my GP now on Monday to go through that.
yeah,
So
I would ask them about
It's surprising.
just what the purpose is.
I'm surprised they stopped your aspirin and put you on clopidogrel. They stopped my aspirin and put me on Eliquis, which was
Yeah.
antiplatelet. While when I got stents, they put me on Plavix or clopidogrel. And the clopidogrel was only temporary. I mean, I took it for 2.5 years, but it was temporary. Well,
Yeah, that's
Eliquis
what I
I'm
wonder.
supposed to take for life because it's anticoagulant. And the aspirin I couldn't tolerate. That's why they stopped it. I just had gastro issues.
Yeah, it
yeah,
might be
I
something
don't
that
know. He said that he was replacing the aspirin with the clopidogrel.
If they can get aspirin lysinate, that works. I published a study on that back in the 1980s. It's a French product, and you can probably get it in Canada, and it's a lysine aspirin product, and so it bypasses all the stomach problems. It gets into your system. The lysine is cleaved off, I think, down the duodenum. Trying to remember the name of the thing. I published this back in Acta Haemologica back in 1980 something, and it was really effective. And the effects on platelet function, were second phase of platelet aggregation were exactly the same as with aspirin in the study I did. This was my only human study. And yeah, it was pretty good. Aspergique, it was called, French company, Aspergique. I think it's de Lalande, a long time ago, but it actually, I've recommended to other people who can get a hold of it, but I don't know if you can get it in the States. It's a salicylic acid lysate, and it bypasses the stomach, and you don't get the stomach irritation. You get some,
Interesting.
because you get some stomach irritation from the blood-borne aspirin, but it's much less. And then the patient said it was a lot less. And yet the second phase of platelet aggregation inhibition was the same.
But it's still an NSAID, right?
NSAIDs are non-aspirin. What's NSAID again? I forget.
So
Non-aspirin analgesics? No, it's an aspirin product. It's a acetyl salicylic acid lysate.
okay.
That was when I discovered I had hypertriglyceridemia, because when we were setting up the aggregometer, this is back in the let me think, back in the 1970s, early 1970s, Tech wanders into my office, says, I need some blood to set up the aggregometer. And so I hand out my arm, and she comes back 10 minutes later and shows me my plasma, which is like clotted cream. That's how I discovered my dyslipidemia, was because of running a platelet study in my lab in Geneva, Switzerland. But yeah, it's very important to understand anticoagulants and what they do. They call it blood thinner. They don't change the viscosity of the blood. Most of them inhibit either a clotting factor or platelet function. And then it comes down to your actual platelet function. My platelet counts are on the low side of normal. If I take like aspirin and fish oil and rub my eyes, I get eye bleeds. So that's
Oh
probably
gosh.
why I haven't got any clots in my stent in my aorta, because my platelet function is on the low side. But if your platelet function is on the high side and you have a high thrombocyte count, you might want to watch it if you have a stent and make sure you do, take an anti-aspirin anticoagulant, because the way the platelets function, they're very clever. On average, you have about 10 to 20,000 blood vessel leaks a day in your body. I remember inducing that in sheep with a thiamine antimetabolite. A man, these sheep were covered in little tiny hemorrhages everywhere, because what happens, you get a little, let's say you do an exercise, then it damages little tiny vessels, capillaries in your muscle, and they'll leak, and the platelets come in, and the way platelets are made is magic. They're made from megakaryocytes. It is magic. But let's not get into that. And what these platelets do, they're in the blood, little tiny things. And if there's a leak, they'll stick to the leak and then stick to each other. And then they stay there and block the leak. And then after that, there's a second phase where they tighten up and cause clotting. And of course, then you have anti-clotting factors in the blood to stop the whole thing seizing solid. Your whole body is always in a state of dynamic tension. Remember this, from bleeding out and setting solid. Your whole body is like democracy. It's always in a state of balance, and your whole body's like that. And the machinery that controls that is quite critical. And if you're put on an anticoagulant, a so-called blood thinner, it does not affect the Newtonian viscosity of plasma or blood. It affects the clotting factors, or it affects platelet function. You need to understand that. It always comes down to understanding what's going on in your case. You don't have to understand the whole of medicine. You just need to understand your bit. That's all. But you need to understand that bit well. And so I would say, if you're on an anticoagulant, find out which one it is, go online and find out what it does. If you don't understand that, you can ask questions here or elsewhere, and just understand it. That's all. So when they say blood thinner, thinner implies reducing viscosity. They do not reduce viscosity. They reduce the tendency to clot, or the tendency for platelets to aggregate. That's what they do. That's not about thinning the blood. So that's why that's my lecture for today.
That's fantastic. Does that answer any questions for you, Mike? Give any fodder for your Monday appointment with your GP?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I am actually I've got a 15-minute it's a telephone appointment as well with a GP. It's not even face to face, because that's all he could do on the day. So, yeah, I'll be speaking to him about it all anyway and get
Yeah,
things sorted before I go back to Canada.
Well,
fantastic.
nifedipine is a calcium channel blocker. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. I won't go down that
Hmm.
one.
Yeah, it's definitely worth asking, making sure your GP is aligned with that direction and doesn't just go along with it because the surgeon said so. He didn't have much time with you to get a full scope of your lived experience with PAD. So I would take a step back, and if your GP is going to take more time to understand your situation, and might
Yeah,
be able to, that's probably why they came back and said, hey, we'll leave it to your GP, is they may have more time for you in that televisit on Monday. And just make sure before you go into that appointment, just have these questions laid out so you're ready to go and that you get everything
yeah,
answered before you leave that 15-minute appointment.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
will do.
writing them
I
down
will
is a
do.
really good idea. And understanding
Yeah.
the meds they give you is really important. And asking them
Yeah.
questions about the mechanism will piss them off, and that's a good thing. It really is a good thing. And so sometimes these people, I feel sorry for them because here they are, they're giving out medicines morning and night. They're talking to a different patient every few minutes. A lot of them have the same problem, but they've got to keep their mind alive at the same time. I mean, this is why I left veterinary practice. My brain couldn't do that. Every job lasted 10,
Yeah,
15 minutes, and I couldn't do that. That's not how my brain works. But a good physician can do that, and they can do it well. A good
Yeah.
veterinarian like Harriet was obviously, I think his name was actually Livingstone. If you listen to his stories, you can tell he loves the people as much as the animals. And a good physician has to be like that. They have to love their understanding of the disease and love you too. They have to care about you as a person. And those
yeah.
physicians are rare, and the ones in it a long time get worn down. People think I'm hostile to physicians. I'm not. I'm hostile to ignorant physicians or uncaring physicians. But most of them really doing their best. They really are trying as hard as they can.
We're really trying.
But how can they
You
understand
wouldn't have
every
liked that.
disease?
You wouldn't have liked that doctor today, Kevin.
Yeah, I walk away from them. I just tell them no thanks, thanks, but no thanks, and
Yeah,
find someone else.
he just wasn't interested.
Yeah, they
He
very well.
just struck
Heinz,
me off.
Heinz left us. Yeah, you got to somehow find another one. My girlfriend came with me to one of the meetings with my vascular surgeon, and I tell you, he has no bedside manner. He's clearly on the spectrum big time, but he's a brilliant technician. He's a really brilliant vascular surgeon. And she said, well, why doesn't he show any interest in your work? And my answer was, I don't think it's like I don't ask my car mechanic to talk to me about how I drive. It's like that. But he's a great car mechanic. Well, if you're an endovascular surgeon, that's mechanics. And to do that well, which is extremely, I find it hard to believe they actually do it because they're really
Yeah.
running blind. I mean, they can only see this equipment they're putting in. They have these dots they can see on the screen, and that's all. And somehow
Yeah.
they know the anatomy so well, or they know the engine so well, they know exactly how to do it. Well, don't expect them to be touchy feeling at the same time. It's not realistic. And so
Mm.
I communicate as best I can, and it's fine. And I stick with Mark Farber because he knows his stuff. So when you
It's
have a
interesting.
physician, it's very tempting to judge them for not listening, but I kind of understand why, and understanding is quite helpful.
Actually, you bring up a really good point. I always tell people, just because you like your doctor and you trust them because you like them, and someone, they can highly recommend it, and they have great reviews because they were kind and they had a good bedside manner, but you can't judge a great practitioner that you're going to have look in your arteries, and treat your arteries, that they're commenting on just their kindness and their bedside manner, because it does take a lot of technical skill. And I could imagine that maybe a lot of these vascular surgeons are highly technical, more of the engineer type, and engineers and technical people aren't always necessarily social. And to be as good as they are, they have a very analytical mind. Their mind's always working. They're processing information, going, okay, Mike's here. Mike, it looks fine. He has his pulses. We're all good. He seems to be on the right track. Okay, goodbye. I need to move on to the train wreck that is waiting in my waiting room that I may need more time with. It's not to make excuses for them, because I think everyone deserves a little extra, love and care. But I think that's why they end up, I think, especially in Europe, they discharge because the surgeons there are literally just there to see and assess you for a procedure. If you're not going to have a procedure, then they don't need to see you. So it might just be how they position those vascular surgeons there. Versus here, the vascular surgeons are trained to spend more time with the patient, and those that don't want to or don't have time to spend with the patient, they provide a nurse practitioner
Yeah,
up
that's the place
until
to
the
go.
point where they're ready for
Yeah,
surgery.
go to the nurse if you want touchy-feely or explanations that take time. Generally, a nurse practitioner who works for the surgeon will do the job, and they can often be very, very helpful, and they're often as knowledgeable of your situation as the surgeon. So that's the second place to go.
Yeah, they spend more time in their education actually, learning how to talk to the patient, learning how to listen, and to provide the extra advanced, more comprehensive explanation of things in a way that you'll receive it. So it could just be the case. Um, and it'll be interesting when we, in our UK hangout, we start having the doctors join us. So far, we are working on getting eight, Mike, eight scheduled. We had eight agree that doctors in the UK agree that they are going to come on and answer questions. As long as people realize that they're not there to give medical advice or put down or refute specific doctors and comment on specific situations that they don't have all the knowledge of, but they want to be there to answer questions about what are the protocols. And I think that that's a good question to ask about what is the positioning of a vascular surgeon in Europe? What is that frame of mind for these doctors? Does it differ across the NHS? You have, for example, Dr. Nasir Ahmed that actually took time to talk to you and to talk to other patients, but yours did not. So it seems like there is an inconsistency possibly, and it's a little bit of
Oh,
luck of the draw.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Nazir, he rang me like, he rang me on Easter Saturday. Like it was on a
Yeah.
Saturday over Easter. Put my mind at rest because I was really struggling at the beginning of the year. As you know, and he really did put my mind at rest, and he was great. And he did actually say, if I have problems in the future, then he will see me. But at the time, I didn't need it, and obviously at the time now, I don't want any procedures. I just wanted a decent doctor to put my mind at rest again and let me carry on with my life. And I just don't feel like today I got that. I turned up half an hour early for the appointment. I got seen within 5 minutes of being there, so it was 25 minutes before my appointment was actually due. And he called me in. So he could have spent that little bit of extra time sat there and listened to what I was going through and my problems. And, I've struggled with my mental health and depression over the last 12 months. And he just wasn't interested. He kept on interrupting me. He kind of brushed me off. He did a Doppler. He checked my pulses with the gel and the Doppler on my foot, on both feet, found pulses, and he literally said the test results from my GP were wrong. Um, my ABI apparently said off the GP was wrong. I'm presuming that the ultrasound that I had, he said that's not right. He was just rude. He was absolutely rude. And to be honest, I'm actually now as the day's gone on, I'm actually glad that I've been referred back to my GP just so that I don't have to go and see him again.
And what's
To be
really
fair.
great though is that we could work with the other doctor that we
Yeah.
mentioned to get you in sooner. How quickly did we get
Yeah.
you that quick video appointment with him online,
Oh,
and he was
overnight.
willing to do that. So
Yeah.
imagine you aren't going to have to. And one of the fears that we talked about earlier was, oh my gosh, what if things change on me and I'm going down a rabbit hole here and I have to go through my GP in another 12 months? With these
Yeah.
connections that we have through the network, you won't have to do that, right? You've had
Yeah.
experience with
And I
that.
appreciate
You
that.
didn't
I
want to
appreciate
wait
that.
12 months. So you already have the connection that you need, that it's going to be your fallback. You can
Yeah.
go through the channels, message your GP, right? And go that direction and start the processes, but we can go directly um, to the surgeon
To
and
the other
say,
one.
hey, help us reverse engineer this much quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask a
Thank you.
question?
Sure.
Oh,
I
no,
feel,
not
I know
bad.
I missed a few Wednesdays, but I feel like I'm not grasping what the underlying issue is you're looking for further medical help with. The reason that I say that is because I, recall that you were having, a fun time line dancing, but also getting out some pretty significant walks, upwards of 10, 15K. So did you
Yeah.
have a setback that's an issue right now, or what's going on? If I can ask, is
I'm
that
I'm
okay?
just I'm s- I'm just struggling with these really cold feet, and I just wanted a little bit more
Yeah,
of a, I was hoping today that I could get, because I've only ever had an ultrasound in my left leg, so I was hoping today that he might have just done another ultrasound but incorporated my right leg as well, because I'm feeling as though my right leg is worse than my left, and my left has got the 75% narrowing in the superficial femoral. Um, but I'm having more problems with my right leg and my right foot. My toe keeps on going white at the end. I've put a SATS probe on it, like I've told Kevin in the past, went really cold, and my SATS were only 75. So
wow.
I got myself in a shower and warmed it up, and every now and again it happens now in cold, when it's cold. So my podiatrist did say, it's possibly Raynaud's. It wasn't confirmed. Um, so today was my referral from last January. So last January I got told my referral went in last January. I was having problems, so I went through the emergency room, got seen by a vascular doctor through the emergency room who did the ultrasound. Said deal, conservative therapy, quit smoking, change your diet, do everything right, which I've done over the last 12 months. But I kept the referral going from my GP to this other doctor because, again, it kind of gives me a second opinion from what the doctor said last year. So I was hoping today that, okay, yes, I've had a recent ABI a couple of months ago with my podiatrist, and my numbers were back in range, but I'm still struggling with these really, really cold feet. I mean, they go ice cold, where it's really irritating. So I wasn't wanting answers today. I just maybe thought that he might have done some more tests.
Yeah.
So with him just completely brushing me off and referring me, but he's completely discharged me, sent me back to my GP. So if anything does happen, not that I'm saying it will, touch wood, it doesn't. And because I'm still doing everything right, yes, I might not need any intervention. But if anything does happen now, I have to go back through my GP and another referral. Now, I've been waiting 12 months for this one.
Yeah.
So is it going to be another 12 months before I get seen? And, it's just, and it's not playing very well with my mental health. It's really not. So it's not that I wanted answers. I just wanted a little bit more of a thorough check, rather than just going through the
And
emergency room and them doing an ultrasound. I thought with
maybe
my
some,
primary visit to the vascular doctor, he might have sent me for, another ABI. He might have sent me
mm,
for another ultrasound, or, a CT with contrast to find out if there's any blockages or narrowing anywhere else. And I just feel
yeah.
completely rushed under the carpet, and kind of, he didn't listen, he wasn't prepared to listen, and it was just kind of, he left me in the room with his nurse, and I just said to the nurse, I said, he was really short and really rude. And she went, well, he's under pressure. And it was like, well, I know that
So am
he's under
I.
pressure, and I get that. I get
Yeah.
that. I understand that. But to call me in half an hour early before my appointment, obviously he was on time. He was early. He had that time to be able to just sit there and listen to me. And he just didn't. It was just like, oh, it's another. He's too, he's young. He can deal with it himself. Go out and do this. Carry on what you're doing. I told him that I'd give up smoking. He never even said congratulations. I've not smoked for 12 months.
And
I've
this is
changed my
where,
whole diet. I've changed my whole lifestyle. I just wanted maybe a little bit of recognition for what I've done over the last 12 months as well.
yeah.
And he,
I
he
think
just
I
he
think
just
Mike,
didn't. I'm
you're trying
really
to get
upset about it. I'm
you're trying to
really
get blood
annoyed.
out of a turnip. I mean, he isn't there thinking like he's the kind of doctor. He's not giving you touchy feely support. He's not that kind of guy. And as soon as you realize
Mm,
that, you have to find that elsewhere. And that's why I said, nurse practitioners and people like that, because he's not gonna congratulate. He's like my coach, my Ironman coach. When I did my first
mm,
race under him, he was a great coach. And I took 45 minutes off my full Ironman time, bringing it down to 14 hours and something. And I, sent him all the stats from my watch and my bike and everything. And he had all the records of the race. And then all I got back wasn't, oh, that's great. You took 45 minutes off your race time. All he wrote was, he just said, what happened to your cadence on the bike? That's all I got. So I got that. And I checked my cadence. It was down at 70. It needed to be up at least 85. He told me what I needed to know. He didn't give me emotional support, but he is a brilliant coach. So if you have a really good coach, you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Maybe that guy knows his stuff technically, maybe he doesn't, but you need to assess
mm.
that. Don't and go
Well, he
get
referred
emotional
to he
support
referred to it
elsewhere.
like
You won't get it from him.
yeah. And he said to me, he said because of the Raynaud's and stuff, he said if you put, because he said himself, he said I suffer with Raynaud's. He said, and I told him that I don't get intermittent claudication anymore unless I'm on a high incline and I'm really pushing myself. Um, and he said, and he referred to it as like being Mo Farah, the sprinter, the runner, the English runner, the long distance guy. And he was like, well, he can run 500 miles and before he starts getting this lactate acid into his calf. He said, and you might only be able to run 10 miles. He said, but then there's me who's got Raynaud's as well, and I might only be able to do 5 miles. But you're still better than me. And it was just like, what are you going on about? What are you? Why are you referring? I'm not here to talk about a cross country runner that's a world athlete, an Olympic winner.
Yeah, but
I'm
I know
here to
what
talk about
I
me. I'm not here to.
Yeah, no, but he's no, he's not that kind of physician. He's the kind of physician I was talking. He's the kind of person like my EVAR, my endovascular surgeon is just the same. He's not going to give me any emotional support ever. And my coach
Mm,
would never give me emotional support in the Ironman. He gave me data. And so if I go seeking emotional support from that source, it clouds my ability to interpret the data they provide. Maybe he's right about some of the previous measurements being wrong. I would go check on that. If he has very poor
mm,
bedside manner, the chances are he's probably a good mechanic. And you need a good mechanic to give you what you need. He will not give you the emotional support. And if you're disappointed you're not getting emotional support from such a physician, you're trying to get blood out of a turnip because it's not there. So the real question is he right about what he said about the data? That is the critical thing to remember about him. Forget about the thing he didn't care about you giving up smoking. He can't. He can't do that. But he may be a great mechanic. He may not. I'd go focus on that before I threw
But
him
here's
out.
what he gave you though as well, which is interesting because Kevin kind of shares in that same, right, Kevin? That same personality, right? You
Yes.
aren't that lovey-dovey person, so you kind of get it. And what I'm getting actually, Mike, from it is he was trying to relate to you in the only way he knew how. And it sounds as though not to think for him or put words in his mouth or defend him, just trying to understand and provide a different perspective. That it sounds as though, with the in depth description he gave about Raynaud's, with maybe he thought that it would inspire you and make you feel better that he has it. There are runners, there's sprinters, famous sprinters that have it. And so, yeah, you have it, but look, they have it too. And if they can succeed, so can you. It's what it maybe
Yeah.
Kevin in that speak, is that kind of
Mm.
what it seems like he was doing, or do you have a different view?
No,
It
it's
just
all,
kind of felt like it kind of felt like he was saying that there was nothing wrong. It kind of that's, and like I said to you earlier, Kim, on the phone call, I walked out of there and thought, you know what, if there's nothing wrong, why not have a cigarette? But I didn't, and I'm not going to. But the initial thought was, all right, okay, well, if he's going to brush it off, then why don't I?
no,
And I don't.
you're reacting from an emotional perspective with a person who doesn't. He doesn't do that. So we all have strengths and weaknesses. And I tend, my weakness is not relating to people's feelings, but I'm very good analytically. And I had to learn all the skills of listening to people. I had to learn how to do
Mm.
that. But I'm in my 80s now, and it took me most of my life to learn that. Well, he's a busy physician who's probably a good mechanic, and what he gave you was information about your tests that you need to check and see if it's right. Take that part, forget the fact he didn't congratulate you on smoking, because he can't. It's not who he is. Try and find the good stuff and use it, and go get emotional support here or elsewhere, and forget about
Yeah.
his inability. If I depended on emotional support from that Ironman coach, or from my endovascular surgeon, I never would have finished an Ironman, and I would probably be dead. And so,
Well, the only next thing that I can do is speak to my GP and see whether I can get a repeat ABI. They're not going to do an ultrasound at the GPs. So unless another referral goes in for that, then I'll have to wait for another referral. So it's the only thing that I can think of is get another ABI done with my
But he
GP or the
did. He did
podiatrist.
an ultrasound. Didn't he
only on
do?
one,
He
only
He
on
did
one
didn't
a.
do
leg,
he
right?
didn't do the blood. He didn't. I've had an ultrasound on my left, and that was last January.
But he did he took the wand, didn't he? You
He got the
listened to
gel and
bounding
put it on my
pulses.
pulses and just checked the pulses with a Doppler. He didn't, he said that the
Perfect.
pulses are there. He only checked the
Yeah,
one at the top of my foot and on my ankle. He didn't put the
that's
blood
where it
pressure cup. He
counts.
didn't do an ABI. He
It
did say
doesn't
that he's
matter. The
found the pulses.
Well, if you've got a
No,
pulse,
So
that's
if
more
you've got
effective.
pulses, then you're in a. I have zero pulse in my dorsal pedal artery.
mm,
Zero, with
I just
ultrasound
felt
and
like
everything.
I was brushed off, and I
No, I
was
think no. You're back
disheartened
to
and
Mike.
upset
You're back
about
to
it. That's
feelings
all.
again. Throw the feelings out the window and write down the data. You had data. He disagreed with this test. Go check. He disagreed with that test. Go check. Your biggest problem is distinguishing between PAD and Raynaud's. This is the real challenge in here, because they're mixed together in a horrible
It's
way.
here, Kevin. I
Well,
know
no,
that you're
I
saying
know you're.
about
I
emotional
didn't.
support all the
I,
time, but it's in here. I
yeah, I
struggle with my
understand.
mental health and my
I know
depression.
most of our problems are in our head. I get that. I get that, but we're talking about this physician and how you can get the best out of it you can. Okay, forget about getting the
I
blood
think
out of that particular turn.
I
Turn.
think we should drop the physician. I think we should let the physician go for the moment.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to
Because
see him again.
But take the
no,
data
so
he
that's
gave you.
okay. But I mean, even talking about it, because I think Kevin a minute ago said something really critical, which is the biggest issue for you right now is distinguishing between the Raynaud's and the PAD. And what comes to my mind is like it's time to start searching online for perhaps runners, long distance runners that have Raynaud's, and just find out if there are stories, if there are people that have actually like gotten past their Raynaud's. I'm not saying you're trying to be a long distance runner. I have no idea. I don't, but just there may be, just as we found this group centered on PAD, maybe there is out there. I have no idea, but maybe there is a Raynaud's group where people are having experience coping with it, improving it, having it go away, any of those gradations, just like we're dealing with here, from people that are facing surgery to people like, I'm improving my life. I'm getting more and more distance, and still pretty little distance compared to some of the people here. But anyway, it seems like maybe that's a way that you could take, if it's possible, if there's more information out there on the web, to start getting a hold of Raynaud's on a research informational basis. Because
Yeah,
then
I'll
that
take that
might
on
be
board.
something you could take to the doctor.
Yeah.
And I also want to piggyback on, if I may, piggyback on what Kevin said a minute ago. We have here where I live one of the utterly top back surgeons in the state of Texas in my city. And everyone across from the state of Texas comes to see this guy. But the number one thing anybody says about this doctor before they mention him, before they say his bedside manner is atrocious. But if you look at his service over the last 30 years, nobody has said one thing about his surgery and his procedures, and anybody suffered anything negative. So he is really that good. But his bedside manner, they say, is atrocious. So, and I do think we have, how many doctors do we know? And I've met many doctors that their bedside manner was perfect, but I don't know if I would let them cut on me. So maybe there is a little difference. We do have to understand that Kevin was right a little bit, and you have to understand that. I hope that makes sense, Mike. And it's, if you're looking for what you're looking for and you're not getting it from him, maybe you have to do what Kevin says. Look at the other stuff first and then get your emotional support from us. That's what we're here for too, to give you that support that you need in that sense. And that's
Yeah,
why
we all struggle with the emotional side of things. I mean, it's like I have to gird my loins every morning, you know. I mean, I'll be 83 this summer, so time is catching up. I have to let that go and live in the now. And what's helped me most with that is the work of, Eckhart Tolle helped me a lot. Meditation helped me a lot. I mean, I had a AAA stent. I was born in a war, played on bomb sites, had rickets as a kid. My teeth all fell out of my head one by one. I dealt with stuff. And what's helped me, deal with P.A.D, which is worse than my aneurysm simply because I have a stent that works, is, meditation and appreciation right now, what I do have right now. And then when I look at surgeons and physicians and stuff like that, I realize they're human and they can only give me what they can. And I fully sympathize and try to empathize with the struggles you have emotionally with this thing because it's a bitch. And I have really severe Raynaud's. If I tried to run, I did run marathons with severe Raynaud's, but the only way I could do it was to keep my feet warm and my fingers warm for the first 5 miles, and I could ditch the heaters. And now I'm warm and it's running. And that was the way I dealt with Raynaud's, which for me, one time I nearly lost all the skin off the back of my hand because of Raynaud's. And it's so, but the way I dealt with that was solve the problem. The problem was heat. Use hand warmers, foot warmers, and run. Of course, now it's harder. I've got P.A.D. I can't bloody run very well. And so I deal with that. And so, but I understand, Mike, it's this damn disease is difficult emotionally, absolutely difficult. It really is. And Raynaud's isn't much fun. For me, like now I can feel it coming on because my feet are starting to itch. And that's Raynaud's. For me, that's Raynaud's. I start, because I'm sitting here, house is a bit cold. I need to turn up the thermostat. And so, you just deal with each. Did you ever watch the movie The Martian?
No.
Well, the way he solved his problem was science the shit out of it. And that's why I deal with my problems. I science the shit out of it. I go understand it, study it, find a solution and fix it. If I need a physician to help me, great. If I need emotional support and I'm going through an emotional crisis, I go to a therapist. And I've done that several times. One time it really, really helped. I mean, I did something I couldn't believe I could do because I was living with a woman I was working with. We were a couple. I've been for 18 months. And I was helping another person, a friend, with his projects. I was a pretty good scientist. And they cheated on me and got together behind my back. And when I found out 3 days before I had to support their programs in front of the Scientific Advisory Committee, and I was so angry about what they'd done. I wasn't sure what to do because I had to support their work. I mean, they really needed my input. So I went and I found a therapist, a black woman, and she told me, Kevin, what happens in your personal life is not the same as what happens in your professional life. In order to survive that meeting on Tuesday, where I had to sit between these people who cheated on me, and it was a real loss to me. I mean, it really was hard. I had to sit between them and support their work, and her support telling me to separate those worlds, because there are many people dependent on my work, not just them. I had to not let my teams down, either team. So that allowed me to sit between two people only 3 days after they told me they were cheating on me, and defend most of their programs. And I did. And I'm very proud of being able to do that. But I couldn't have done it without the help of that young black woman who taught me into the right state of mind. And that was very, very helpful. And I'm friends with those people now. I mean, we had to go through a process and I moved on, and they're actually now married with kids and together. So it all worked out great. And so, that's where a therapist can help if you can find a good one. It's
So Mike, what can we offer you as a group? What do you need from us to help you get through this and to stay focused and positive?
Thank you,
Well, I missed
Douglas.
the
Yeah.
beginning of that, Douglas. It's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm going to deal with it. Don't worry. It's
But
fine.
so
No, but
what
we
is
do
not,
worry, Mike. Hey, Mike, we care
we
about
do,
you,
we
so
love
we do
you.
worry. We do care.
We just
So-
want to make sure, we think that with the offerings, so one, knowing you do have a vascular surgeon that is on standby, we can get to him. We will get you an appointment soonest. We can do that. So you're not going to have to. So if that's part of your mind that you're going to have to go through the 12 months, that is making shit up in your brain right now, because you're not going to have to do that. That problem is solved.
You ran
Second
13
issue,
miles with P.A.D. and you are line dance. You're the only line dancing P.A.D. patient I know.
I love it.
The only one. And you would provide
And I
us with
gave him a,
inspiration. We need
and I gave him a
inspiration
fun
too, Mike.
jazz dance.
No,
And
to be honest, I just thought that today's appointment, with it being the initial appointment, that he would have done a bit more.
Let it go, Mike.
And to be just kind of brushed off, it was just.
You got to
So
let it go.
I'll get my head around it. I'll sort my head out, and I'll get it sorted.
Mike,
And I
It's
think
just me and my mental health.
one of the things, Kevin,
Mike,
and go ahead, Douglas.
about your line dancing, I noticed one thing in your last video. Your arms had movement now compared to what it was.
And that's because
before.
of you,
Your arms
Douglas.
were actually
Every
moving.
time I do it now, I think of you and you telling me to move my arms more and stop
That's
being
so
so
funny.
rigid.
The first thing I
I
noticed.
didn't know. Douglas, that is
I used to do
yeah,
this.
'cause
I
noticed-
used to have my
yeah.
hands up here like a dinosaur. Geordie used to call me a pterodactyl. Was it you, Douglas, said that I look like a dinosaur?
Funny.
And I noticed
So-
Oh, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Little
Yeah,
tiny hands.
because I was
Yeah,
concentrating so
I know
much.
someone
And then,
else with little tiny hands.
yeah, and then
That's
ever
another
since
story.
Douglas said to me a couple of weeks ago, well, last week I think it was, he said you need to start moving your arms more and relax a bit more your top half of your body. And so when he said that, the next time I went, I was like, I need to take Douglas's advice, and I started swinging my arms a little bit more around now. So yeah.
I remember my first time when I watched, I was like, oh, he kind of line dances like an Irish dancer, like they have their arms, really
Yeah.
close in doing it.
Yeah,
But I did notice as well that your arms are now moving, because you
more
you
relaxed.
concentrate on the
Yeah.
steps first, right? When you're comfortable
Yeah.
with the steps, the rest of your body can move in.
Do all
But
this stuff.
I have a couple more things though for you that might really help, because I do have Raynaud's as well, as you know. So a couple of things that I was told. So one, the calcium channel blockers are therapy if nothing else is working. Phew, woo. Anyway,
Gesundheit.
thank you.
Gesundheit.
Vasodilators.
Comes out loose.
Vasodilators really help. So I don't know if you've seen my videos on making the anti-inflammatory. Phew. I've never sneezed on air before. This is awesome.
Gesundheit.
This is a first since 1997. I've never sneezed on air.
I can't
Um,
believe she sneezed on air. That's terrible. I can't deal with her anymore.
I'm human. Holy crap. Um, I'll probably get trolls in there going, why didn't you just
There's
mute
a job,
yourself?
there's a job opening listed at the bottom of the page now.
These things are my savior at the moment.
Those are insole warmers.
They work.
Yeah, they are my
Right.
savior at the moment. I've got a
No, they
pair on
really
now.
work. They help me finish
It was
marathons
just
and
a
Ironman
sneeze.
Yeah.
races. I come out of
But
a
what do you do?
freezing
What's
lake.
your vasodilator?
So the vasodilator, so ginger is a vasodilator, and that's incredible. So I take ginger supplements, but I also make my own ginger tea. And here we have, if I can't get the fresh ginger, then I just get the frozen minced ginger, and I pour it into a big vat, a big pot of water with, I squeeze some orange and lemon, some lime. I put in the outside of a pineapple in there as well, because it adds some extra nutrients in there after I scrub it down. But ginger is really a vasodilator, but also beets will really help.
Mm.
I was just going to look up other foods because I don't know them off the top of my head. Lots and lots of garlic. The more garlic that you take, the more ginger that you take, the beets. Cayenne pepper is also a vasodilator. And so I would look on it if you're not allergic and if it feels right, see if you can increase some of those to a noticeable level that you're increasing, and see if those help your symptoms. Because I know for me in the winter, I put now cayenne pepper on everything, and I feel like I have fewer Raynaud's symptoms. But I
Mm.
also I put fresh garlic, and something that's really delicious is chop off the top of a garlic and then put it in the air fryer. Oh my gosh, and you squeeze the garlic oozes out. Put that over your protein or your vegetables, and it's
Mhm.
absolutely delicious. But leafy greens, the fatty fish, I don't find like those seem to make a difference. I have them all the time, and I don't feel like I have a relief in symptoms. But when I do the ginger, when I do the cayenne, when I do the garlic, and I make a conscious effort to increase that, my symptoms are relieved. At least I feel
Mm.
some relief. Because right now I'm really cold. My hands are frigid, and
Mm.
they're not going white that they normally do. So that's a good sign that it
Yeah,
works for me. So give it a try. See if it works for you.
yeah, yeah. I will. I'll try. I'll give everything a try. Anything to make it a bit better for me. So
Yeah, but I
yeah.
think it's a good sign you're doing what you need to do. And I think that it's also a good lesson as we close out here, because I know we need to, I need to go work on my presentation that I'm giving this week for a limb salvage conference. But and we can continue this conversation into our hangout later today. But I think it's really important for patients to, before you go into your appointment, write a sentence of, I will be satisfied and feel as though this meeting with my doctor was productive if they say this,
Yeah.
they say this, and they say this. If we cover this, if we cover this, and we cover this. And when you go into the doctor, you say, hey, I just want to let you know I have things that I know that you need, but also that I need to make sure that I don't, run down a rabbit hole when I leave. Here are the things that I want to make sure to hear or to cover by the end of this
Mm.
appointment. And it really does help. Sometimes you're not always going to hear, if you're going in there and you're saying, um, I only want you to tell me that I no longer have PAD. Well, that's not realistic,
No,
right?
no.
But be realistic and understand what you need to hear before you go into the appointment, so that you can make sure that those things are going to be covered, so that your mind is at ease when you leave.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it would help with a lot of people. And I think that it gives the doctor a chance to succeed. And especially someone who's not really emotional, um, that is more technical, that would give them a chance to succeed. And
Mm.
they Kevin, right? Someone who's high on the spectrum, they want to succeed,
I think we should
right?
all run the AQS score that I put in my book. I did a
Yeah.
survey, and if you understand the other person's position on that true spectrum, which goes from right to left, it will help you understand why they behave the way they do. It certainly helps me understand why Mike is the way he is. I bet his AQ score is already on the low side. Mine's way
Just
up there
like
next to
mine.
all, and yours is pretty low. What were you, like a 9 or a 12 or something?
It was a 9 or a 12, actually. Now that you said, I could have told you what it was, but no, I
Well, I
can't
got about
remember.
100 I got about
I am
150
actually going to have to
now.
say goodbye. One of my cousins has just come round to come and see me, so I'm
Yep.
going to nip
But we'll
downstairs
say,
and just say hi.
well, yeah, we'll definitely all say goodbye. We appreciate everyone joining us. You should always join our live in studio audience, because sometimes we end up an hour later and we're still talking and we're not live. So email us at info@padhelp.org and join our live studio audience. But you can always join via YouTube and be a fly on the wall and put in comments, because our amazing YouTube producer, Josh, is always right there and he's paying attention. If you do have any questions or any insights to share, he brings them straight to us that we can share, we can answer your questions, and we can make sure that your perspective is also there to help others with PAD to walk, to live another day and live to walk another day. But make sure you subscribe to our channels, youtube.com/the @ the weight of my heart. And also, if you want great exercises for PAD, go to youtube.com/the @ fit old dog. But don't forget to pick up Kevin's book. He has both the written version, a PAD training manual, and he also has the audio version. So make sure to check those out. And you can find out more about Kevin and get his weekly newsletter at inspirationalselfhelpbooks.com. Thanks everyone for joining.
I feel sorry for you, Kim.
Thanks,
You're an
guys.
AQ score of 9. It must be terrible. I don't know
It's
how
a
you
good way
handle
to
all those
end.
feelings. Oh my God.